Arc Raiders has been such an amazing game so far, full of a ton of different experiences, and I still have so many things to discover in it. Each map has different loot spots, different loot to be discovered, there's so many different missions, and the player-to-player interactions of each round are enough to make every part of the game interesting and engaging. After playing this game for a while though, here are 11 things that I really wish they added to the game that would definitely enhance the overall experience. You know, I'm pretty confident about 10 of these, but there's this final idea that would really affect how the game goes, and I'm a little unsure about if they should actually implement this, but let me know what you think at the end. The first thing I think they should change up is the communication system. At the moment, Embark's implemented a proximity chat system and a sort of limited emote system with some basic lines like yes or no or indicating that you're friendly. This system seems pretty limited for accessibility's sake. Some people aren't able to use voice chat to hear someone speaking to them, and sometimes players will take out other people if they don't respond or don't hear them. So for the first thing I wish they add soon to Arc Raiders, I think implementing some sort of text chat system would make cooperation a lot easier. I think that it doesn't necessarily need to be a full session text chat sort of thing, maybe like a proximity text chat, and on that side of things, there should also be some sort of indication that a player is typing, so someone speaking to them knows they're planning to communicate. A second sort of thing I wish they would add to this game is maybe more medium level arcs. So at the moment, there's the Wasp, Hornet, Snitch, Tick, Pop, Fireball, and also the Shredder was added recently, as well as the Surveyor and Turret, I believe. So there's a lot of these medium type enemies. My problem is just that a lot of them perform similarly. You know, the Pop and the Fireball are pretty similar since they both hide in buildings and dark spaces and suddenly show up and attack. So while there's a lot of different enemies, many of them function pretty similarly and even have similar shape, and I think we see a lot of unique functionality in the bigger arcs, like the Leaper and the Bastion, so I hope we can see that reflected in the smaller arcs as well. So really I hope they add more diversification in the medium level enemies so that you can anticipate different threats in buildings, for instance, than just something rolling toward you to launch an attack. A third thing that I've seen a lot of people say, and I definitely agree with, is making a more interactive Speranza. At the moment, the system the game has of going through tabs of traders is definitely more efficient, but it takes away a bit from the game. I think it would be pretty cool if we were actually able to go and interact with the world of Speranza in some way. On that note, I feel like there should be more interaction opportunities with players, which is what an interactive Speranza could serve as. I think raiders should be able to have their own customizable den where they can interact with other players and show off items from their stash. This would really weigh into the multiplayer aspect and make the world and players feel more connected. Then again, they could definitely just allow this sort of player interaction in an interactive Speranza. I remember, I think in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, they did a system like this that was called Era One. In it, you could run around and do certain things in the game while being able to see other players and even add them as friends. I know a lot of Ubisoft games do this, where other players can exist and you can see them, but you can't really interact with them in the game. So I definitely think they can create more of a social moment here for players to interact and meet each other. Number 5 on the list is definitely going to be something to do with the safe pocket. So in Arc Raiders, if you go with your own loadout and use an augment, excluding the free one, you get a safe pocket. The higher the level of the augment, the more safe pocket spaces you have. And basically the safe pocket serves as this space that, you know, anything you put in there will be safe. So if you get knocked out or die in the round somehow, whatever you put in that safe pocket will carry over to your stash, even though you lose everything else. Now, sometimes you find a really special piece of loot like a blueprint or something that is super rare and you need to save, so you use the safe pocket. Other times, your looting isn't very successful, so there isn't much to really preserve. However, if you're going with your own loadout, especially to the harder maps like Blue Gate, you're probably taking a high-level weapon with attachments, and even sometimes a pretty cool weapon that you can't even craft yet. So when you get downed and you don't have any amazing loot, your mind is on that weapon and wanting to save it. For some reason though, you just cannot put weapons in the safe pocket. I don't understand why, since a weapon is found from loot a lot of the time, so what specifically about weapons is the issue with the safe pocket? And I think that detracts a lot from wanting to focus on upgrading your weapons, since on those harder maps, more often than not, as a solo player, you'll run into an arc that you can't really defeat on your own. So this is one of my biggest sort of, I want to say, annoyances at this game, since I just don't understand why weapons can't be put in the safe pocket. Number 6 on the list is a bit tamer, since it's less about the gameplay itself and more about personal preference. I really like taking photos in a game that's as gorgeous as Arc Raiders, and there are a lot of amazing places to take photos. But there's no way to hide the interface of the game in the settings or some sort of photo mode which hides it automatically, so I hope they introduce that soon. Every time I come to take photos in the game, I rely on screenshots, which means I have to crop a lot of the image to take out the user interface and focus on the scenery. Going on to number 8, now this one might be because I'm unfamiliar with the genre of extraction shooter games, but I do think that certain loot for quests should be easier to ping, and also certain quests should include more guides. For instance, something that gave me a lot of trouble was finding the Scrappy Dog Collar quest thing. If you didn't know or don't remember, the first item you need to train Scrappy is a dog collar. Now, this dog collar is just labeled as being found on residential. So in the damn battlegrounds, I looked at all the apartments and I went to Buried City countless times to all the residential areas to try to find this dumb dog collar, and I just couldn't find it. It took ages. So I definitely think some loot quests should be pinged or given at least suggested locations on each map, instead of the maybe generic labels of residential and so on. A lot of the early quests in the game ask you to take out specific arcs. I think games are really well done when it's not a requirement to have to search up a guide or something to become familiar with the game. However, these quests just mention taking out arcs by just naming them, which means a lot of new players will have to search online to try to identify these things. So I think there should be some sort of easier loot and enemy identification system in the game. I also wish there was a way here to know what sort of items would be needed for quests in advance, since the stash size can make things limiting and you'll end up selling a lot of stuff you need for quests without knowing. So I wish there was a way to know what items were needed for quests later on without needing to research it. Something else I think would be pretty cool for number 9 would be having certain in-game events or quests that spawn in the middle of a round. Now, this is a bit inspired by Battlefield RedSec, since I thought it was pretty cool that you could have these limited time missions to commit to mid-match. I think that if Arc Raiders implemented something like that, where random missions spawned mid-round, it could make rounds a lot more engaging and bring new excitement as well. There could be retrieval missions, loot missions, arc elimination missions, and so on. Any sort of random event or assigned task that would make things more unique over the rounds, and also give more chances to get XP. For number 10, I wish there was more use of the coins in the game. As of now, you can use them to purchase from the traders and expand your stash size. My issue is that most of the things you can buy from the traders can pretty easily be crafted, so most times you forget to go buy and just craft the item instead. So I really hope that they add more uses to the coins. You know, they could actually also introduce some sort of marketplace system between players, where players can sell loot in exchange for coins. That could add a lot of depth and realism to the world, add chances for engagement between players, and also help people progress on quests they're stuck on. And on the note of coins, the second main use of them for me is expanding the stash size our raider has. This stash size expansion is pretty expensive, and it can go all the way up to 280 slots. In the stash, you store weapons, medical supplies, crafting materials, and really anything you can loot and anything you can craft. Some of the items you loot can be recycled into crafting materials, others can be sold for a lot of coins, especially some of the trinkets, and a lot will end up being used in future upgrades and quests. The issue I find myself running into is that in this game, I tend to be a hoarder. I don't need more coins to have to sell a bunch of stuff, and I have enough raw materials, and I also don't know what's needed for quests. So I like to store things until later on to know if I need them. What happens there is my stash size just keeps increasing. I have a bunch of random things, and I also just want to keep increasing the stash size and don't understand why there's a max if I'm paying for it. Is this a me problem? I've definitely seen a lot of people online talk about this whole max stash size feature, so I hope they make the stash size, you know, able to be expanded more. And I hope they make things like items needed for quests more transparent. So basically just a better, more coherent organization system to all the stuff you get in the game. Here is my number 11 that I'm a little unsure of and would like to hear your thoughts on. I do feel like this would make the game more fun to play, and I have seen several people online ask for this, but at the same time, it might just pull away from the essence of the game. This would be potentially altering the revive system. Essentially, the idea is that Embark adds a way to self-revive and enhance the abilities a raider has if they get down like some sort of adrenaline thing. This can make it a lot easier to escape extraction campers, for instance, and offers players a lot more opportunities to make it out with their loot. Now, again, this might make it more fun, but it might also make it too easy in a way. I'm not entirely sure. What do you think, though? What features or new things do you wish to see in Arc Raiders? And what are some already existing features you wish could get changed in the game? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Arc Raiders content.